This is the September 2025 video edition of the Iowa General Fund Monthly Revenue Memo. I am Eric Richardson, Senior Fiscal Analyst for the Iowa Legislative Services Agency, the nonpartisan support agency of the Iowa Legislature. For this video, I will review final General Fund net revenue amounts for fiscal year 2025 and discuss the current status of fiscal year 2026. Due to accounting procedures, it is not possible to provide revenue updates at the start of the month until all transactions have been processed. For September 2025, the issues were eliminated with transactions processed on October 1st. Iowa's fiscal year runs from July 1st through June 30th, and that period represents what is referred to as the cash fiscal year. However, proper accounting dictates that revenue deposited and refund checks issued after June 30th that are the result of economic activity that occurred on or before June 30th must be credited to that previous fiscal year. The process of accruing accounting transactions back to the previous fiscal year ends in September, and it is only now that the final net revenue picture for fiscal year 2025 became available. General Fund net revenue for the year decreased $816.6 million and minus 8.4% compared to fiscal year 2024, after decreasing by $89.5 million and minus 0.9% the prior year. Fiscal year 2025 was the second year in a row with a net revenue decrease after 9 straight years with net revenue increases. This table summarizes revenue growth by major revenue source. Note that for this table, revenue is adjusted for accruals. Refunds are subtracted from each item's gross receipts, and transfer revenue is included. This provides a true look at net revenue by major source on a fiscal year basis. For the fiscal year, individual income tax increased by $43 million, and sales and use tax increased by $36 million. Corporate income tax decreased by $40 million, and other taxes decreased by $805 million. Non-tax revenue decreased by $14 million. The other tax decrease in FY 2025 was due primarily to a decrease of $687 million in pass-through entity tax revenue, which realized a net $175 million in FY 2025, down from a net $862 million in FY 2024. A significant portion of FY 2024 other tax revenue was PTET from tax years 2022 and 2023, due to the retroactivity of 2023 Iowa Act's House File 352, the Pass-Through Business Entity and Deduction Act. Much less revenue was collected during FY 2025. While PTET tax credits have been processed during FY 2025 for prior tax years. After a credit is processed, there are dual entries in the state accounting system, decreasing other tax and increasing the relevant tax where PTET is finalized, largely individual income tax. Due to the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OBBA, which contained a permanent federal extension of the state and local tax cap beyond tax year 2025, and the inflation-adjusted increase of the SALT deduction cap from $10,000 to $40,000 beginning tax year 2025 through tax year 2029, there will be impacts to Iowa's general fund revenue that continue to be analyzed. While fiscal year 2024 growth saw a relatively large decrease in net individual income tax, net individual income tax receipts increased during fiscal year 2025 by 1.1%. 2022 Iowa Act's House File 2317, the Income Tax Rate Reduction and Exemption Act, reduced the income tax rate from a top rate of 8.53% to a top rate of 6% in tax year 2023, with a smaller decrease to a top rate of 5.7% in tax year 2024. 2024 Iowa Senate File 2442, the Individual Income Tax Rate Act, created a flat tax of 3.8% beginning in tax year 2025. The limited tax year 2024 rate reduction from House File 2317 beginning on January 1st, 2024, may be a factor in individual income tax revenue growth for FY 2025. Refunds, primarily from tax year 2024, were approximately $139 million less in FY 2025 compared to FY 2024, while FY 2025 gross revenue decreased by only $96 million compared to FY 2024. You can see the effects of the tax rate decrease on individual income tax withholding beginning January 1st, 2025. Year-end net revenue growth for the individual income tax was a positive $43 million, which reflects the larger decrease in refunds later in FY 2025 compared to the decrease in revenue. Reallocations from other tax due to PTET tax credits may have played a factor in year-end net revenue growth for the individual income tax. This chart provides annual fiscal year net revenue growth from all general fund revenue except transfer revenue for fiscal year 2025 and the previous 22 fiscal years. The chart shows constant revenue growth from fiscal year 2016 through fiscal year 2022, except for the pandemic year of FY 2020, with FY 2022 growth more than $500 million higher than FY 2019, the pre-pandemic high growth fiscal year. FY 2023 saw smaller growth, with general fund revenue increasing by $48 million for the year before decreases of $119 million in FY 2024 and $780 million in FY 2025. With the end of September and the close of fiscal year 2025, it is now possible to look at the current year on a fiscal year basis, meaning after the adjustments have been made to properly attribute transactions that occurred after June 30th back to fiscal year 2025. This table provides fiscal year basis revenue growth calculations for FY 2026, adjusted for the recent accrued revenue changes necessary to close the previous fiscal year. Please note that this comparison is through October 1st, as a significant amount of revenue was deposited into the state general fund on September 30th, but was not distributed to the proper revenue category until the first working day of October. Net revenue for FY 2026 through October 1st has seen an overall decrease of $205 million and a negative 11.1% compared to FY 2025, due mainly to a decrease of $142 million in net individual income tax revenue thus far in FY 2026. Income tax withholding from tax year 2025 is expected to slow FY 2026 revenue through January 2026 until stabilizing in February 2026 as the Iowa income tax rate reduction from Senate File 2442, which began on January 1st, 2025, becomes consistent for both FY 2025 and FY 2026. Beyond state policies, however, recently enacted federal legislation will affect net individual income tax in FY 2026 and will be analyzed in later versions of this report. In summary, fiscal year 2025 finished with a decrease in general fund receipts of $816.6 million and minus 8.4% compared to fiscal year 2024. Due mainly to the individual income tax rate reduction, along with a decrease in PTET revenue, annual Iowa general fund revenue growth expectedly decreased in FY 2025 for the second year in a row. The Revenue Estimating Conference will consider the final fiscal year 2025 revenue numbers when producing new revenue estimates for fiscal years 2026 and 2027 at the committee's next meeting scheduled for October 16th. Thank you for your time and your interest in Iowa General Fund revenue. Goodbye, and please check out the next monthly video memo in early November.